So, David, why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we sitting in a coffee shop?
We are sitting in a coffee shop because we love coffee, first of all.
Yeah,
and we drink gallons of this stuff.
Right. So to be a successful filmmaker, screenwriter, coffee is absolutely imperative. Yeah.
Imperative. I get my best ideas on caffeine.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem good anyways when you're on caffeine.
Yeah. Exactly.
But, there is a real reason we come to these coffee, at least for me. I have a home office, I'm a composer, I work in my office all day long, and I stare at the same four walls, and I just cannot wait to have any excuse to get out of there and go somewhere. And typically, the place is pretty quiet right now, but this place is usually hopping.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to hear that buzz of people behind you. You're working on something, you're laughing, and you'll pick up a little phrase from someone in the background, and it'll spark an idea, or it just keeps me engaged to be around that kind of activity.
And this began in a coffee house.
Yeah.
For us. We met for coffee, and I had been in one of Glenn's previous films in Bunny Down, which was a fantastic film. I had a little small part in that, and I was actually meeting him to pick up a copy of it. And he threw out the idea of just doing a scene study on camera.
Yeah.
I said, we kind of look like each other.
Yeah, we definitely have that Eastern European
something
overweight, schlubby,
pallid,
ghostly skin condition. Look.
Yeah.
And we're the same age, and we've been beat up by life pretty much the same way, I think.
Yeah. And so we thought, I said, we look like brothers. So what if we did a piece where we got to play brothers? And what if we wrote something about brothers? And that was the first thought, the relationship of a brother. Which
is a really good point, I think, and got me excited because David was very much on the same wavelength as me. The particulars of the story, what happens in the story, that's important, but to David, the most important thing was kind of exploring the relationship between these brothers. And we came up with the idea that one of the brothers was more of a caregiver, the other brother was more of a follower and looked up to the older brother. And that really resonated with both of us. I'm an older brother, and I have a younger brother, and there was a time when I'm sure he looked up to me and I was the hero. And you have older brothers.
Yeah, I'm the youngest. The youngest in my family, and so I definitely knew what it was like to have a big brother that I idolized and followed around.
Yeah.
And so I think that also added to the richness of these characters of having that. But that was sort of an attraction for you to this project.
Right, the spark, right?
Right, the spark of it, and the films that I've seen that you've done in the past, they speak about people, and they speak about the goodness of people.
Yeah.
And so tell a little bit about what drove you towards that.
Absolutely. I mean, I one of the things that really intrigues me is I'm fascinated by the goodness in people. I look around me all the time, and I see this incredible sacrifice and loving and caring in my neighbors and my friends, and even in strangers, the way that they relate with one another. And I think that's something that I'd like to put on film. And a brother relationship is a very complicated, and certainly there's the component of love and caring, but there's also a lot of stresses being brothers, and we wanted to see just how far we could push it. As I said before, one of the brothers is more of a caregiver. That would be my character. And so I get a certain thing from that. I get the fact that David looks up to me. David depends on me, which is both a driving, motivating factor for me as far as how I feel about myself, but it's also a strain on me. Dave, talk a little bit about your character.
Well, and you have this full-grown man who has some disabilities, and he cannot survive in this world without his big brother. So his idolizing of his brother is is even greater than, than someone who doesn't have those challenges. That David so depends on Glenn for everything, so that in David's mind, Glenn is this huge hero, and David sees Glenn in a complete opposite way than Glenn sees himself in real life, and you see that in the film, the contrast even of the look of the film.
Yeah, and I think there's that codependence, which is really important. One of the really good comments we got from an early version, we really only have, this is our second draft of the script. We've gone through it twice now, and we've kind of got to the point, since it's a short, that we're willing to have people look at it. And one of the really good comments that somebody made was that the more difficult, the more struggle that Glenn and David go through, the more that they kind of recede into this fantasy world that David's created. Being the slower brother, he sees things, everything's wonder to him, everywhere he looks. And Glenn really feeds into that world too. They escape into it in a way. It's their coping mechanism. So I find that really interesting, and it's a fun thing to explore. Whatever situation we put them into to stress that and make that more, come out more, is kind of the craft of what we're doing. But the most important thing, the kernel of it, is the relationship and the characters.
Right. And I think that what really draws me so much to these characters, even though I'm not playing Glenn, but this person who is willing to sacrifice, and the nature of sacrifice was such a very interesting theme to us, that somebody would be willing to sacrifice so much of their life for their brother, for someone that they loved. It's something that we aspire to be as individuals, but I don't feel like I could be.
Right, these characters are, even though Glenn is amazingly flawed, and of course he has his problems with it, he bitches about it and complains about it, but yet he's there every day for David, and for himself in some ways. But yeah, he's somebody, I aspire to be Glenn.
There are real people like Glenn.
Absolutely.
And they are amazing people, and I would hope that this film would inspire people to be more like that.
See that in themselves, and it's true. Yeah, I think that's why we're doing this.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah, we figured it out.